Shalom once again. Welcome back. Hey guys, it's been a minute. We continue. I want to outline a few points that I understood from the chapter 1, the Jesus nation. And the author went on to say that many are anticipating for the rise of the Antichrist and the end time signs and all those. But they are forgetting something very important, that before the coming back, the second coming of Jesus, he said that he would be raising his own kingdom, his own nation, his own people, and he will establish a kingdom for himself before his second return, and that he will rule this kingdom himself. So before we all anticipate and look forward to the rapture day and the rise of the Antichrist, let us focus on this prophecy, because I think, and according to the author, he says that we're living in that prophecy, in the days of that prophecy. So he says that it's not a strange thing, because it is something that it is an extended activity of an operation and strategy which he implemented himself from the ancient days. That is when he called Abraham to leave his own people, to go to a foreign country, and there he'll make a great nation out of him. And he also told that there's this, they say, this context, God's chosen nation. This description tells the story of God's interaction with Israel. Abraham was merely an individual. However, when God saw him, he saw the potential of a great nation. He saw an entire harvest. When God looks at you, he doesn't see an individual, you personally. He sees the outcome, the you, the future you. So he also tells us, the other also goes on to say that God chooses one out of the many, so that the many would be blessed. In this case, Israel's role is to reconcile all the nations to Yahweh. And God calls you, he calls you with a purpose. Why is God raising this nation? That should be our question, which we'll get to learn in the next chapters. Why is God doing this? Because if he chose Israel to reconcile, and their role was to reconcile all the nations to Yahweh, we'll get to understand the reason God is raising this nation, the Jesus nation. And the plan of God is also to ensure that the world is in submission to God's people. We read in the book of Genesis 25 verse 23, when the mother of Jacob was told, 2 nations are in your womb, and they will be separated. One will be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. And also God admits in Romans 9 verse 13 that Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated, because Esau represents the secular nation, while Jacob represents the godly nation. And we continue. I also got to understand that God has to ensure that he plants his own people in positions of influence and power, while removing the wicked, corrupt, unrighteous, and unholy people. Because this nation will be ruled by God's people, the one he has chosen himself. That is why he's doing strategic, he's getting people putting people in godly people, those who fear God, in these strategic positions, so that they can rule according to God's will. And we also understand that God is raising the 7 prophets, and the author talked about the art and entertainment prophets, and he said that This artist will produce artworks, songs, books that represent God but not ideas of men. He also talked about financial prophets, and he said God is raising prophets of money who will be entrusted with the dealings of his temple, taking away mockery and ridicule from the church. He talked about educational prophets, and he said men and women will pursue knowledge to better presentations of biblical affairs and to defend the gospel logically and not just spiritually. He talked about family prophets, and he said family will bring back life into the body of Christ, and that is the church. They shall bring solutions regarding marital and sibling rivalry. Their word is pray the relationship between Christ and church. He also talked about media prophets, and he said, we are called to do our work skillfully for the glory of God. You are the online presence of God. Live out your faith in all different ways. Love God and others. And there's this point he said, your media presence can be used to glorify God and also win souls. There's also a point he said that you are the tweets through which hope is shared and updates through which light is displayed. Therefore, those mere Facebook updates and status, God regards them because it's a media that God is using you to display to display his light or to bring hope to his people. And he also talked about religious prophets. These prophets are gifts from Jesus to church to equip his people to grow in the knowledge of God and in their usefulness in God's kingdom. And the last one, he spoke about political prophets, and he said, current government is in the hands of corrupt and wicked leaders. Therefore, God is raising godly rulership to defend church. God has authority to give power to whom he wills. And he also, in conclusion of that chapter, he spoke about reasons for shiftings in strategic positions, why God is raising this prophets, and why God is establishing this kingdom. 2 points there. Number 1, to reverse evil decrees against the church. Example, when Mordecai repressed Haman. And number 2, to ensure political system is occupied by believers. God is setting up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. And this point, to ensure political system is occupied by believers. An example is when Joseph appointed his brothers in a strategic position in agricultural sector when he was the prime minister. He was the prime minister, right, in Egypt. And that is what I understood, and all the few important points from the chapter 1, the Jesus Nation. Thank you so very much, and God bless you.